How's it going, everybody? My name is Matt, and today I'm bringing a video all about the OPPO N1. Now, as you can see in the title, I use the phrase, the perfect smartphone. Before we get into the video, I want to talk about this a little bit. So first off, what is a perfect smartphone? There's no real definition for it. There's no set of checkpoints that you can check off and then become a perfect smartphone. Basically, you need to utilize the current tech and do it better than everybody else. So that brings into the factor of time. A perfect smartphone today is not a perfect smartphone in 3 years. So keep in mind, whenever I talk about a perfect smartphone, that is strictly in the current market. Now, what makes a smartphone perfect? Innovation. If you do everything the same as the last phone, but a little bit better, that's nothing special. But if you bring something new to the table that really enhances the user experience or changes the way people interact with their device, you've got something on your hands. You've got something great. You've got something that has the potential to be perfect. And that is exactly what OPPO is doing with the OPPO N1. Now today I want to go over 3 reasons why the OPPO N1 has the potential to be the perfect smartphone. Keep in mind, it's not out yet, so this is just theoretically speaking. To start off, we have specs. When it comes to specs, the OPPO N1 is no joke. It has top-of-the-line specs and almost beats all other flagships. Let's start off with the screen. It's got 5.9 inches, 1080p, IPS, and 377 ppi. Basically, what all that means is you got a big, crisp screen with really good color reproduction, and it's very easy to see in sunlight. That's the IPS. Next up, we have the battery. This battery is a 3610 mAh battery. Now this is a huge battery. Most current smartphones have anywhere from 2000 to 2400 mAh batteries. This 3600 mAh battery will last you days on end if you use your phone right. This really eliminates the need for accessories like a battery pack or an external battery. Now let's get into some of the more boring stuff, or the more technical stuff, like the 1.7 GHz Qualcomm Snapdragon 600 processor. While this isn't the fastest processor available to put in your smartphone as of today, it's up there, and the only time you're going to notice the difference between this 1.7 GHz processor and another 1.9 GHz processor is when you put them right next to each other and you benchmark them for their CPU. And no one really does that, so you'll be plenty happy with this CPU. It's also got 2 GB of internal RAM, which is, I promise you, all you need. Most desktops for mom and dads or families have less than 2 GB of RAM, and you have that in your phone, so you'll be plenty fine. Also, it's got 16 GB of internal storage, baseline, so that's probably the $200, $100, $200 model with a 2-year contract. Now before we move on, I want to talk a little bit about the camera on the specs side. So it's got 13 megapixels, which is top of the line right now, same as the S4 has. It's got aperture f2.0, and it has a ton of features for different scenes, different lights, so it's really a full-fledged camera with a lot of features and a great software. Now, you can't make a perfect smartphone with just specs. As I said, you need innovation, and OPPO innovated with their feature set. They introduced 2 new, unheard of features on the OPPO N1. First off, it's the camera. Not the camera itself, but the camera part of the phone. The camera actually rotates, so it's the same 13 megapixel camera facing back, but you can just rotate it and it faces you. So if you want to take any selfies, they're really high def now. But basically what this brings to the table is no more crappy front-facing cameras that people just slap on to contend with other people. It's that same camera, that same awesome camera I just talked about, but you can just rotate it and face it back to you. I'm showing some pictures probably on the screen around now that will give you an idea of what it actually looks like. There's also a device called the O-Click, and it's a little, probably plastic device that you can put on your keychain that lets you remotely take pictures with your device or remotely interact with it. Now, while this doesn't have a huge application, it's a nice addition and I definitely noticed it. Now, probably the most innovative aspect of the N1 is the O-Touch panel. This is basically a 12 square centimeter panel on the back of the phone that you can actually interact with. So gone are the days where you need to use both hands to scroll or use your phone. You can just use the back of your phone to take pictures, to scroll down. It's basically another touchscreen but without a screen. You can just touch and interact. Now, this brings a lot of beneficial aspects. You can use your phone in one hand, you keep one hand free, taking pictures is easy. It's really, that's the type of innovation that we need to keep seeing and that will keep the market competitive. You don't see Apple doing that because they're just going to put a fingerprint sensor on their phone and suddenly it's amazing. But this is actually innovative and this is actually useful. I'm never going to scroll up on the Galaxy S4 with my eyes, and none of my friends who have it do that, but I would actually use this back panel because it's easier than moving your hand to actually scroll down with the other hand or the front of your hand that you're holding your phone. Not to mention, the O Touch panel could have some awesome app integration. You hold your phone like this when you're gaming, so what if you could use these back fingers to touch the back of your phone and interact with the app? Now that is really cool. So if people tailor some games or apps to that feature, you could have some really cool technology. And lastly is awesome software development. What OPPO has done is something that nobody else has done yet. They've partnered with Cyanogen mod. And if you don't know what Cyanogen mod is, search it up on YouTube. There are a bunch of good videos about it. I suggest watching Marcus Brownlee's of it because he's awesome and he gives some great videos and he really described the new update pretty well. OPPO has hardware partnered with Cyanogen. While the OPPO N1 will still ship with color on it, which is OPPO's skin of Android, it will have full compatibility with the new Cyanogen mod update when it's released, and it will be tailored toward the hardware of the OPPO N1. So you can be really excited to see some awesome advancements in that area. So those are the 3 reasons, but before we end off this episode, I want to talk about pricing and availability. As far as we know, in China, around October, it'll cost $570 off contract. That's basically all we know. It's probably going to come sometime during the holiday this season. It'll probably come at $200 on a contract. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe for more tech content. I have a huge list of videos that I'm really excited to go through because all of them are pretty interesting. And as always, have a good one.